Hello everyone, it's the Preacher coming at you today with the new episode of my new series called Answering the Comments, where I go back through my past videos and read through the comments and just answer the issues that people have or just the questions or comments. So this episode I will be going through the comments on my Answering Atheism episode 1, Does Truth Matter episode. And I'm just gonna jump right in. The first comment is from a guy named Robin Dude. And it says, as a story, does the truth matter? Well, given we can't define truth sensibly or ever know if we have truth with perfect certainty, I'm not sure if it does if you're asking for absolute truth. If you're just discussing as truth as we can get, then yes, it does, which is why religion is not true. It fails to meet the burden of proof. So before I go on with the burden of proof, let me just say that when he says we can't define truth sensibly, well, truth as a whole is defined as something in line with reality or the facts. So that's one thing, but even I'll get into how we know there's absolute truth in a second. But if we are just assuming truth, that's still we can still know something without a doubt. That we go by assumptions all the time. So assumptions a lot of times is just as good if they're backed up by knowledge, if they're backed up by facts. So so if you're saying, I do agree that even in the things that we don't have 100% knowledge of, we can still assume based on what we know, and that should be good because science is built a lot of times on assumptions because we can't know everything, and even then the assumptions should be considered just as good as we can get. He goes on and says, first part, Christianity brings you peace. Forgetting if it actually does, let's assume that you're right and it does do so. Let's see, he just goes on and says, this is exactly the flavor issue. If your religion makes you happy, that's good. If, Islam makes them happy, that's good. Let's see here. And he goes on and says, the ability to have an emotional state is not dictated by whether you have access to truth. For instance, suppose a loved one died and someone told you that they died peacefully, but they died in pain. Would that make you happy to know that they died peacefully when they did not? Let's see here. So let me answer that real quick. The whole idea that lies can bring you happiness is true. That is true. But you see, in the video, I tried not to portray it as I am happy because of Christianity and thus Christianity is true. I wanted to portray it as the truth does matter because all religions say they can make you happier than you are right now, that they can give you more peace. And in thus, you should be concerned about what is right and what is wrong. So, there's something that just saying that I wasn't using truth and happiness as conjoined. I just said that you should be concerned about which religion is true because the truth typically does make you happy. I go on and say you open by saying that objective truth probably doesn't exist, and even if it did, it doesn't matter. I disagree with this. To say that truth doesn't exist is self-contradicting. If the truth doesn't exist or can't be known, does that mean that truth can't be known? Let me portray it like this. It's if you say, I believe that truth can't be known, is it true that you believe that truth can't be known? You see, with a statement like that, it kind of ends up being a very contradictory statement or a very paradoxical statement, and thus it can't stand. And we have to assume that truth can be known. And even with assumptions that truth can be known in some things, that there are facts about reality that we just know. Let me see here, going through. I think I just answered. Yeah, I think I just said everything I just said. He does give a Bible contradiction, but I'm going to save that for a later episode, just because I don't want to deal with Bible contradictions right now. All I'm just going to say is, if you want there to be a contradiction in the Bible, then you'll find one, because, if you're looking for them, you'll find them, just because that's what you're looking for. So, another one he gives is, was humans made before or after animals? And he says, Genesis 1 says after, Genesis 2 says before. But if you look, Genesis 1 is talking about the whole planet as a whole, whereas Genesis 2 is talking specifically about the Garden of Eden, as it states at the beginning of the chapter. So, and also, since it's just like one chapter apart, we can't really, like, even if that contradicts each other, there'd have to be an answer if it's one chapter away. I mean, these people who write the Bible are typically considered very knowledgeable, so how would they not notice that they made a contradiction within like a page of each other? Like, did they not like look down and was like, oh hey, we should actually fix that? So I'll leave it at that. He says, I say that there's a difference between happiness and peace, which is true. I've seen a lot of happy, unpeaceful people. You know, anyone can be happy in the moment. However, it takes a lot to be peaceful for a long time, because typically people just aren't peaceful, which I think religion can give that to you. But other than that, I think I'm just done with that comment. We go back and forth on some Bible contradictions. But let's go on. Google Plus answers him and says, don't waste too much time on this preacher guy. I showed him where the Bible makes scientifically false claims, and he just yelled at me that it was a miracle. He's a freaking loon. Kind of slanderous. I did not yell at him. He's referring to the video I made before this one, the truth video, where I released it and then had to take it down because it lacked audio. Where he pointed out that in the Bible it says that Jacob put the animals in front of like a certain colored stick, and then their offspring was the same color. And he said this was scientifically inaccurate, and I pointed out in the next chapter, Jacob tells his family that, you know, God showed me this in a vision, and that I had no way of doing this. And even his family is kind of surprised when he tells them that it worked. So once again, it's one of those things, if you want to see a Bible contradiction, you're going to see a Bible contradiction, just because that's what you're looking for. Metal Shrek says, he puts a quote from a guy named Old Man Dirt. I don't know who that is, but says, I think most of those who wear the title atheist are more of a skeptic, meaning that no matter how much proof is presented, they will not accept it. I'm reminded of a statement on the subject. It takes no great intellect to be a skeptic. Any fool can do it. All of us put our faith in something, some their own ability to reason. Those who put their faith in reason alone become dogs chasing their own tails, meaning that no matter where they start at, they get nowhere. Old Man Dirt. And Robin Dude answered, you can't, you know, though people don't believe in faith alone, you have to have, no one trusts pure reason. You need reason plus other things, namely evidence, he says. Without the two, you have nothing at all. Yes and no. There are things that we go by not on faith. Some atheists go by purely faith, which I talk about in my future episodes. But, I'll leave it at that. Firestorm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 says, Buddhists meditating on the mountaintop will cause neither harm nor benefit the strive towards physical mortality. He goes on and says that he believes that religion, and specifically the idea of Jesus rising from the dead via the power of somehow God, is just us as Christians being afraid of death and wanting to avoid the inevitable. So let's look through it. This is kind of written odd. I don't like how he put the comment, because he kind of put like fact, then inserted opinion as fact, and then put said the whole statement was fact. Like, he said that Christians claim that Jesus rose from the dead via the power of God, which is true, and then he says this is simply nothing more than waiting and praying for a magical solution to the greatest problem, which isn't true. You know, you can say that, but it's really not. In fact, I do not follow this. I don't follow this idea of God. I'm not a Christian because I'm afraid of death. You know, I don't think of death at all. Actually, it just doesn't concern me. It doesn't come up in my day-to-day thought. So there's a lot more reasons than that, and just saying it like that is just opinion. He goes on to say that, God, if God was perfect, he wouldn't have, like, Eden would have been better, the Garden of Eden would be better, Adam and Eve would have been better, which is not true. To say that something is not perfect would imply that you know what perfect is. So, I do believe everything worked out to God's plan, and that's how it should stand. But once again, it's kind of an opinion thing. Next one, I'm going to try to hurry this up. It's beginning of vein. Johnny Nice says, a lot of science points towards God, quoting me. Says, oh dear, that must be why 90% of scientists are atheists. Not true. I talk about that the next episode, where I point out about 51% of 51% of scientists aren't atheists. 51% of scientists are actually kind of religious or believe in a higher power of some kind. Katie Anderson quoted me. It was kind of the whole lies can make you happy. Google Plus says the truth matters, which is why I'm an atheist. Thanks for the vagueness. Backslasher says, no, he kind of says the same thing, that lies can make you happy. Do not, that way you discover truth is through experience, observation, and testing, not by listening to 2,000-year-old dogma. Do not waste what may be the only life you have in hopes of an eternal afterlife that someone promised you. This is, this whole idea of me wasting my life because I am religious is kind of silly, and also saying that 2,000-year-old dogma, old does not mean wrong. Atheists will agree with this. The idea of naturalism actually existed before the birth of Christ. It came from, like, the Greek age, when several people were just like, we don't believe in a higher power, and in thus everything is natural. So something that atheists believe is actually older than Christianity. So old does not make it wrong. Dogma, that's debatable, as I'll talk about how accurate the Bible is in later episodes. Do not waste what may be the only life you have in hopes of eternal life that someone promised you. That's funny, because I don't see me wasting my life. I'm actually a very happy person. I enjoy my life. I enjoy my life greatly. I think I have a great life. In fact, I see many people who are not religious, many people who are just looking for their own way, as wasting their lives. I know many people who are trying to find their way with drugs and alcohol and, violence. They're actually wasting their lives, and they're actually endangering their lives, looking for, like, a little bit of happiness. So that's all I have to say to that one. Floyd Stinky Boy put no with a period. Thanks for the punctuation. James Greishaber, maybe, I don't know, says, I don't know any atheists who say truth doesn't matter. Atheism does not teach there is no God. Atheism is the lack of a belief in a God or gods, not the belief that no gods exist. That is anti-theism. And atheism is not a religion. I do not think we can know truth, but not all truth. So, this is, this idea, that it is true, I do agree with you, that many people consider atheism as a not religious. It all depends how you define religious. But also, as I think I'll show in future videos, the idea of atheism, many atheists are just as devout to atheism as many religious people are. So, whether religion or not doesn't matter. It's a belief that people stick to, that claims that they have the truth. Data Lua Forever says, what does this video have to do with atheism? Well, a lot of stuff, because many atheists that I know in both reality and in online interaction have told me that they believe that truth can't be known, just because, more specifically, truth about religion can't be known. So I thought I'd just sit down and explain my side of this, and explain why not only does the truth exist, but it matters. So that's all the comments I have on this one. Come back next time to watch part 2, where I go through religion and science, part 1 and 2. So, like, favorite, subscribe, come back for more. Leave a comment if you have a question or something to ask, or that's a question. If you have a question or comment, leave them down there. All my links are down in the description. I have a Twitter, I have an email. If you have a question, if you have a comment, if you have something to say to me, I have an email. If you have some personal matter, hit me up on Twitter. I have a blog if you want to check it out. And until then, till next time, thanks for coming, guys. Bye.